Today's students are tomorrow's front line. Today's visionaries will become tomorrow's leaders. And today's research will discover tomorrow's solutions. For ourselves, for others, and for our world. Southern Cross University, transforming tomorrow.
G'day and welcome to the National Virtual Expo. I'm your host for this session, Rob Malicki, and I'm coming to you today from Gadigal land in Sydney. I pay my respects to the traditional owners, traditional custodians of the land on which I live and work. And welcome to this session on getting clear about your career. And I'm joined today by Kelly Wade of Lunico Coaching. Kelly, thanks for joining me at the National Virtual Expo.
Hey Rob, very excited to be here.
This is such an important session because, I mean, obviously people who are in high school, they haven't had to go through the whole career hunting thing yet. And maybe some of the other folks watching along today, we've got some parents who are joining us as well. Maybe they've been through a first career, maybe they've been through multiple careers and they're trying to decide what they want to do next. And it's a challenging area, isn't it? Deciding what we're actually going to do with our time and our lives.
It is a challenging thing to do, but once you know how to do it, it actually makes it really easy. And so that's what I hope to share today is some tips and tricks and models on how you really can get clear about your career.
Love it. Okay, well, you've got a bit of a presentation for us. For those people who are joining us live, thank you so much for being here. And any questions that you've got for me or for Kelly as we go, you can ask them in the chat, wherever that is for you. And if you're on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or YouTube, just drop it in the chat in your interface and that'll come through. If you're on the Session Hub, the same. You can just drop your questions in the chat. We'll do our best to get to them by the end of this session. And if not, then we'll be answering every question in the Choosing Your Uni Discord. You'll find the details in the description down below. And for parents, we have a Facebook group just for you as well. Details down below. But with that, Kelly, over to you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rob. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining this information session on how to get clear about your career. We're going to cover some big topics in the presentation in our short 20 minutes together. So feel free to take notes, but I will make the pack available afterwards and we'll finish off with some Q&A with Rob. But if you've still got questions or would like a complimentary check-in, please feel free to either find me on LinkedIn or email me directly. Who am I? My name is Kelly Wade and the owner of Lunico Coaching, where I spend my time combining career and leadership coaching and consulting on employee growth in large organisations so that everyone has the opportunity to grow. Today I have a stack of useful information to share and I want you to walk away with practical tips and actions you can take on how to get clear about your career. If you're looking at choosing a new career or expanding a current one or setting out on one, reinventing yourself starts with your why. Viktor Frankl wrote a very impactful book about his time in concentration camps during the Holocaust, and his lessons culminate in this quote: "Those who have a why can bear almost any how." That is to say, no matter the work you pursue, there'll be parts you may not like, but connecting to your why or your purpose makes it all worthwhile. Another author, Malcolm Gladwell, writes in his book Outliers of Meaningful Work as a critical factor in taking on unpleasant roles with the utmost satisfaction. He goes on to define the requirements for meaningful work as having autonomy, the freedom for you to choose some work or tasks, complex work that occupies the mind so you're not too bored and it's not too hard, the flow state you may have heard of, and finally, a connection between effort and reward where you can clearly see where your impact makes a difference. Keep these in mind when you're thinking about your future career. Adam Leipzig in his viral TED Talk says, find your life's purpose using these 5 questions. Who are you? What do you do? Who do you do it for? What do these people want or need? And how do they change as a result? Now, this helps you think about your current career or something that you may be currently doing, but doesn't consider a new vision, your dream job, or even a stepping stone role to get there. So think about these questions as well. What is my dream job? And if I was to do it, who would it be for and what would they gain? Does my job need future-proofing? And is AI going to help me get there? You may have seen this concept of ikigai. It's a Japanese term representing the sweet spot of your reason for being, or the essence of your career. There are 4 concentric circles representing the factors required for a successful career. What you love, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what you're good at. There's no point in following your passion if you can't earn a living, and there's no point in mastery if the world doesn't need those skills. There is a World Economic Forum report around the future of jobs issued last year and every couple of years. Reading this and paying particular attention to skills needed in the world will help you navigate towards a balance of your ikigai. We've talked about the why. Now we can have a look at the how. There are 4 key components to get you clear about your career. We'll go through these in more detail. The first is to deepen your self-awareness. Nobody should know you better than you know yourself. However, their perspective is important, so seek feedback. Next, create a career management plan. The mind was not made to store things. Write it down and use it as a tool. Then, develop a career brand. How you're perceived in the market is essential. And here's the important one, practical steps to move your career forward. As Tim Ferriss said, the podcaster and author of the 4-Hour Workweek, it's lonely at the top. 99% of people in the world are convinced they can't do great things, so they aim for mediocre. In my view, both fear of change and a lack of action are the 2 most significant reasons why this is true. Remember when your mother said, you can do anything you put your mind to? Well, it's true, but remembering your ikigai and conquering your fear will be essential to unlocking your full potential. So where do you get started? The quiet places are best. This is a photo of our magnificent Blue Mountains in New South Wales, and in fact all the photos in this presentation are for my own inspiration. Ultimately, you want to design a career by choice to find the work you love. There are 3 elements here, and I'll credit the late Scott Dinsmore. Become an expert in yourself, do the impossible, and surround yourself with passionate people. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. So, the first thing, become an expert in yourself. Some of these areas listed here are not so easy to work through, and there are different professions and therapies to explore. This lifelong work can help you really understand who you are and how you're made up. However, through simple exercises and assessments, you can become more self-aware and know your strengths, talents, skills, and traits that could be a factor in finding a match with the work you love. Try a simple reflection exercise on what you've done, how far you've come, and what you would look forward to. What would you say at age 80, reflecting on your life's work? Mindfulness, journaling, or walking in nature, finding time and space to hear the inner voice are good practices towards getting to know yourself. Exploring with a coach, and at a basic level, try an AI conversation. It can be surprisingly helpful. Each of us has a unique combination of these elements to access ways of being, to assess ways of being and how we show up at work, perform and interact with each other, and combined with your experiences, this is what makes us unique and how we can stand out in our careers, and also what we'll use in our personal branding. To get started, I would try the VIA Strengths Assessment. You can Google it or find it on my website. Another exercise you might like to try is to spend a week observing, noticing, and recording the activities you love or hate. Whether you're in the workforce or currently studying, likes and dislikes are your personal compass. They drive motivation, satisfaction, and performance. When you're doing things you enjoy, you're more likely to hit a state of flow where your best work happens. You might be surprised to know a strength isn't something necessarily you're good at. It's something that energizes you and makes time fly, where you're more likely to get good at it. So take a moment, reflect, and where have you been most absorbed or committed or excited by your work or study? These moments hold real clues. So that was knowing yourself. The second thing we can do is to find the work you love is to do the impossible. This is where you need to aim high. Push and stretch your goals. It's where you'll feel uncomfortable, but that's how you know you're growing. Trying new things is hard because we haven't wired our brain yet, but after repetition, we create smoother neural pathways where growth happens. And this blue sky thinking requires some time and space, so try and set a rhythm in your calendar to allow for it. Look up and out over your life and consider each domain to set some lofty goals. Aim high. Goals are supposed to be updated as you learn, so don't be afraid to just plot something for now. I want to emphasize AI in this area. AI is an everyday tool organizations are using now, and they have foundational skills in this which are non-negotiable, like the internet, mobile phones, email. AI is the way of working right now. So with good prompting and learning about agentic agents, which is an AI feature that can help do a sequence of tasks or access specific knowledge, knowing how to use these are essential. And lastly, surround yourself with passionate people. And these are not necessarily your family and friends, but rather those that are closer to you, that know the types of jobs that you want, the job that you're in, or maybe someone that has a vested interest in seeing you succeed. They might be colleagues, industry peers, conference attendees, recruiters, a career coach, your old boss, Rob Malicki, those that can give you advice, open doors, empathize with knowledge about you or your environment. One other person that you should definitely have in your cheer squad, and that is a mentor. Someone who has walked the path that you think you may want. They can advise on the tips, tricks, and approaches they took to finding the work they love. You can find and ask someone whom you might have had a handful of conversations with over a year, who will be generous enough to open up about their trials and tribulations and what worked. Sometimes you might also ask people for a mentoring conversation. If you want to hear from more than one source, or perhaps you don't know them well, this is less of a time commitment. There is a difference between a mentor, coach, advisor, or sponsor, and so knowing about each and how they might help you is important so that you can set up the asks and expectations. Coaching can overlap them all, as these skills are helpful for all relationships. A coach will use powerful questions to facilitate your growth, helping you reflect on your values and your potential. Coaching is the big tool in your kit bag, and it will help you along your journey. I work with leaders and learners of all types, and I help them to focus in on what matters to them most. I help them distill great ideas for action, so instead of plodding along, facing a redundancy, being bored in a job you've outgrown, you take the time and space for coaching sessions that motivate and inspire you towards a job of your dreams. This picture illustrates the why of coaching, from default career to a better career by design. Just think for a moment, what are your biggest assets in a lifetime? The most common investments are house, superannuation, property, stock portfolio. But what about your career? The average Australian middle-class earner will earn $3.6 million in their lifetime. Your career is a durable asset, your very own human capital, but you need to look after it for it to grow. And apart from this fantastic Careers Expo you're exploring, how often do you take time out to really look at your career pathway? So we've looked at how to find the work you love. How do we bring it all together? This is your career management plan. Preferably a written document where you can keep your career vision front and center. And when you're writing this, be as specific as possible. Here's an exercise you can do. Take what you've learned about yourself Put it into an AI chatbot like Claude and prompt it to give you ideas to capture for these areas: your professional objectives, your career options, companies to target, people to get to know, courses to study. My Lunico coaching model is your career planning process, and I have clear steps and tools for you to follow, some of which are on my website. You'll learn through coaching and self-discovery. You'll understand how to apply your strengths within your current reality. You'll narrate your own stories of success where you envisage a future that you want. You'll ignite your passions and the work you love through a success roadmap, communicate inwardly and outwardly for your brand and support network, and continually optimize as the world evolves. Continuing on with our how. Describing yourself and what you do for the job market or what you want to do is key to ensuring you're well positioned to land a job you want. Doing this in a congruent, authentic, and consistent way across the key branding modes is easy once you know how. The challenge is defining who you are in the first place. By starting to define what success looks like for you and the elements of self-discovery, so your traits, your strengths, your values, it's the combination of these that makes you unique. Lunico means unique in Italian. These descriptions of who you are can be used to promote your career brand consistently in various ways. It's all essentially the same message, just slightly different approaches. So these 4 key places to start. Your resume. This is your professional summary. The top profile section has a showcase of your value. LinkedIn, the About section, written in first person, it's a hook for readers to want to know more about you. Your elevator pitch or your quick verbal spiel. Try the Gaddy pitch. You know, so I, so that. You know how people need to work on their careers? So I offer career coaching sessions so they get clear about their career. And lastly, the interview question, tell me about yourself. Describe yourself intentionally so it's relevant and engaging. So think about what is your story and positioning your future story as right here and now. That's right. Fake it till you become it. It's a little of a different way of thinking about it. I introduced myself earlier to you, but however, I want to share in pictures who I am to the market. 80% of jobs are placed through your network. 80%. So it's worthwhile getting clear on who you are for others to know, remember, and share. Now, some of you feel uncomfortable to showcase who you are. Offering your talents and strengths is of mutual benefit, and employers will gain from your services and expertise that are yours alone to give. Author C.S. Lewis said, humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. So try and flip your thinking and know that the value that you offer will help people, teams, and organizations. They need to know who you are to get you into the right role and set you up for success in your career and your development. We're on the home stretch. What are the practical steps to move your career forward? Here are some exercises on the process of getting clear about your career. Journaling. This is a way to collect your thoughts in a notebook. Write it in every day to make sense of your thoughts. Mind mapping. Use a whiteboard, an A3 sheet bit of paper, or a Miro board. Draw big circles for each domain of work. Things like jobs, learning, mentoring, connections, income, side hustles, and actions to take for each. Think about reviewing job descriptions, finding recruiters to talk to, reading industry reports or listing connections out to make contact, or courses to study. Read books, listen to podcasts, and what about the use of AI to self-coach using the voice feature? Try the app Pi, which is essentially made for this. You can also prompt the career booklets. Help me find the perfect job, with sections like skills, industries, ease of entry, salaries, and a learning map. Input your data from your love load exercise or your personality assessments. Then plot some timelines for your goals. Don't worry about fixating on the dates, but do take time to reflect regularly on how far you've come. And lastly, a routine with habits. Your routine is key. Work backwards from an annual calendar entry for career management planning and chunk it down every quarter, every month, everyday habits. When developing your habits for a good routine, James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, has 2 useful points of note amongst many others. The first is to stack your habits. Find moments already established in your day to stack on top of another small action to take. It might be after dinner. Spend 20 minutes on your career plan before switching on Netflix. That gives you over 120 hours in getting closer to your dream job. And another point James makes, he highlights the difference between being in motion and action. Motion contains planning, researching, preparing, but it's a trap when you endlessly refine your resume or research companies without speaking to anyone, or this common one, continually completing courses to feel ready. Action, on the other hand, is behaviour that delivers a result. A coffee meeting, connecting with an industry peer on LinkedIn, or asking for a mentoring conversation. These connections are where you find a red thread to pull on and unravel opportunities you did not know existed. You tap into the hidden job market and get closer to finding the work you love. Thank you for taking the time and investing in your career journey. I'll pop up a slide with my contacts. So for further information or a coaching session, feel free to link in through the QR code, visit my website, or email me directly. Thanks to Rob and the Choosing Your Uni team for having me here today, and wishing you all the best for your career.
Thanks very much, Kelly. I've got a couple of questions I'd love to get to. But very quickly, so if people do want to work with you, where do they find? I mean, obviously here on your website, and actually down in the description, I've got a link to that as well if you're on the Session Hub page. But what does that look like if people want to work with you?
Yeah, great. It's a good question. So I generally try and do a chemistry check-in. So it's about a 15-minute call that we would have together. So you can either email me or find me on LinkedIn. And we would set out to figure out, what are your goals? What are you thinking about? And how to experience coaching. I find that that's the best way to get to know people really quickly. And so, I'd love for the opportunity to help anyone on the call today.
Look, I'm a big advocate for people taking this stuff seriously. It's a bit like you said, this is an investment in your future. We invest in all sorts of things through our life. We invest in our education. We invest in assets and things that we buy. But yeah, your career is a big part of your identity, and yet not a lot of people proportionally actually make that investment of taking the time to get expert guidance on how to make this happen. So if you're in a position where you're able to do that, I think it is a fantastic investment. And obviously, Kelly, really appreciate you taking the time to present. There are other careers coaches out there, and I think what you just said, Kelly, it's really important. You've got to find someone that you can work with really well. It's a close relationship. So I reckon, start with a conversation with you, and then also then talk with people in your network, and see if you can find somebody there that you can work with on an ongoing basis. You'll see the dividends of that over time for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, good points. Rob.
So a couple of questions then, and hang on. Firstly, I just pulled off the literally men's search for meaning. You mentioned that right up the top. That's just literally sitting on my shelf over here.
Right.
A really good place to start if you want to just open up your mind and feel grateful for living in the world that you've got. Then that's a very good place to start. But can we hone in on some super actionable, just starting steps? Because everybody's is at a different point. If you could get people to do one exercise, what would that be?
It would definitely be, for me, because it's a really good question, getting to know yourself. And I mentioned AI a few times in this presentation because I've recognized that it's so impactful for personal growth. So if you can have those interactions by using Pi or Claude and really think about what it is that you want to do and who you are, then I think that's going to be a rich sort of exploration that you can do to kick off this journey.
I really love that. An exercise that I did a few years ago that I found personally very confronting, but that was incredible in that same sort of genre, was like the write your own eulogy. Um, so it's an exercise where you imagine basically like being at your own funeral, and you have to write a
Yeah,
speech. What would somebody say
yeah,
about you at your own funeral? And yeah, it's quite a confronting exercise, but it really forces you to think about what's important to you in life and what would that look like right at the end if you'd achieved that successfully. And I find that
exactly.
a mind-blowing exercise.
And what you're talking about there is really establishing your purpose through the years and the legacy that you then want to leave behind. And you're absolutely spot on in talking about what is important to you and getting to know yourself is how you're going to get there.
Absolutely. There were so many great things in your presentation there, Kelly. I've just like a whole list that I've written down here of things that I'd love to chat about. We're obviously running a little bit close to time. But um, for those people who are maybe younger, because that self-discovery stuff, I think it's, once you're more mature like you and I are, Kelly, it's a bit easier to understand that process. But for
Mm.
people who are maybe at high school, if you're at a school, perhaps they've gotten you to do the Moresby aptitude inventory. You mentioned a couple, Kelly, online as well. There's obviously the DISC, the DISC
Mhm.
inventory as
Mhm.
well. Those are really, and in fact, Choosing
Mhm.
Uni's got one on our website, which is specifically about what to study. Um, those are
Mhm.
really good ways for you to be able to just explore, or just answer a whole bunch of questions and then get some feedback, from the machine or from the inventory, if that makes sense.
Indeed. And I think young people, I would challenge everyone to get out there and talk to other human beings. It can also be confronting in having those conversations and really opening up to feel a little vulnerable and asking um, some of the more experienced people in your life what they did to get to where they got to. And using the wisdom of others is definitely a fast track in accelerating to know what you want to do in your career, but also what happens when you get into your career and then perhaps they become mentors over time.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that's so different these days compared to when, like, you and I would have been starting our careers, is this little thing called LinkedIn that probably most people watching haven't heard of before, or heard of, but they're just like, oh, that's an old person's thing. LinkedIn, tell me if I'm wrong, Kelly, but it is the most unbelievable platform
Mm,
for actually connecting with people in a professional sense, because you
mm,
can literally
mm,
connect with
mm,
CEOs, vice presidents,
mm,
you
mm,
know, startup founders, like whatever floats your boat.
mm,
Those people are not
mm,
only available on LinkedIn, you can search for them, but they answer
mm.
their messages.
Yeah, I know. It's incredible and it's global. So why stop here when you can go and have a look outside our own country for awareness of what else is going on around the world. And I find people are most generous. So when you reach out for people to connect with them or send them a brief message, because there's a free feature on LinkedIn where you can send a short note to people. Um, Make sure that you craft that message in a way that shows that you're interested in them and therefore that you have some pointed questions to ask for them. They're much more likely to say yes to a further conversation.
Such good advice. I mean, we're humans, like we're the center of our own story, and so it makes your ego feel nice and warm and fuzzy when somebody reaches out to you on LinkedIn and says, "Oh, hey, look, I admire your work. Would you take
Mm,
15 minutes to have a conversation with me about what you do and how I could maybe build a career like yours?" I mean,
yeah.
super busy people, the CEO, I kind of mentioned, CEOs and former presidents aren't necessarily going to be answering your DMs, but the majority of people, particularly if they're a few steps down the career ladder, like they're not at the very top, but they're a couple of steps down, people take the time. And so
Yeah.
you just got to dare to do it, don't you?
You got to dare to do it. And I, just sparked a little thought there for me, Rob. There could be a challenge for you, the people watching, in terms of what is the most radical person that you've connected with outside your own circle using a platform where they've actually, agreed to have a conversation with you or give you a little bit of generosity in time or information. I reckon there could be some really radical ideas doing that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and you would be amazed at what kind of people will actually respond to you there. And if you don't try, you don't know. But one of the things you said was, one of the things that holds most people back, fear, absolutely, and the lack of action. It's one thing to make plans, but if you don't action that into meaningful actions, that's how you end up stuck. So some of these nice, easy things that are low friction, sending a bunch of DMs on LinkedIn to people that sort of you admire, whose careers you admire, that's just like an easy way to start taking action, and that turns into conversations. Working with a coach who'll give you, like I'll say it politely, give you a kick up the bum when you need it. Let's be honest, and then gently guide you when you need it as well. That's the advantage of
We
having
like to say accountability buddy, but sure.
it's big boot up the bum when you need it. It's just the truth. Like when you've got people who are in your corner, supporting you, encouraging you, speaking the truth to you, and sometimes, most of the time, we just need the truth, and that's often the hardest thing to hear, but it's actually what actually gets us moving. So yeah, once again, I'm a big fan of coaching as a mechanism to get you to take those actions that you need to.
Yeah, and like a sports coach does, we also provide that, that little bit of encouragement and support that you might need to think about things a little differently.
Wonderful. We could go on and on, Kelly. I feel like we've only just touched the surface, and you had so much. You really flew through that. There is so much great content in there for people to go back and unpack. So if you've got more questions, obviously reach out to Kelly directly. Details down in the session description down below. Otherwise, in the Discord or the Facebook group, please put in your career questions. And if you're in that situation, you don't know where to get started, you're trying to work out your next step, you're not alone. That's the whole reason we've built these communities. It's the whole reason that Kelly agreed to come and join us today. And we're very lucky to have that resource available for you. So take it. Kelly Wade, thank you so much for joining me at the National Virtual Expo.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you, Rob, so much. And I really hope that people find value, and I look forward to hearing from some of you in due course.
Well, I hope you got something out of this session. And if you have any questions at all, you can head to choosingyouruni.com and ask Lumen. Lumen is your AI guide who knows about every university, every pathway, every option that we've talked about throughout this virtual expo. And Lumen is available to talk to you 24/7. So it's ready when you are.